for answers to connect the dots. Okay, so how am I going to make this happen in my life? I know this is what I want. I know this is the person that I want to be. Okay, now how can I make this happen? And looking for answers. And he has this concept which says reasons first, answers second. And so once you get a vision, you figure out what it is you want, and then what? You figure out why you want it. But the why to that piece is the reasons, right? And so reasons first, answers second. And so when you talk about emptying the bucket, yeah, you're giving everything you got. But why? Reasons. It reverts back to the reasons. Okay, the reason I'm emptying my bucket, my family, my workplace, my life, and who I am as a person, I want my name and I want who I am as a person to mean something long after I'm gone. Legacy. Back in the day, a cat used to use a bucket and put out fires. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about in my presentation. I said if I could empty my bucket and give you life, anybody will get up and live my life. Everything I got is my issue. Give you life, get better and do better, and have a better attitude, better perspective about life. Like y'all, somebody way to live my life. If I bring positivity, I'm bringing a positive attitude, I'm giving everything I got. That's what it's about. So that's about giving everything you got. That's great. It's about what does that do for your life. You give everything you got. It makes you a value creator, right? So what a value creator is, value creator. Down on my knees, heard your daddy died, you know he sleep. And I want you to know that girl is not that deep. So what's up? You alright? Pull up, miles high. What's up? You alright? Pull up. Girl, I'm outside. A million ways I swear I prove you wrong. You wrong. 'Cause I love you for life, you know one night. Smart thing, a boss, I'll be on. I don't need no mind, I know what you can buy. It's alright. Miles high. So,
There's a life outside I didn't know. Tied up, falling down to an empty soul. And Lord knows that this love has taken toll. I've given all of my love to this broken home. So why don't you lose yourself for me? Why don't you lose yourself for me? What does it take to ask to say? Why don't you lose yourself for me? It won't work if it don't make sense at all. I'm so lost that I can't see through the fog. The same stains that were left from the cherry wine. The same stains that I wish we could both rewind.
We will start shortly. I'm just going to give it another minute or two. There's 20 people on now. Hopefully you don't mind the music that I'm actually playing. If it is bothering you, feel free to just mute me until we start. If not, just enjoy the songs until we start. Thank you. Can't even decide, can I?
See, I'm liking the way that you force it up on me. Baby, come with me, come and show me. You come for me when you're lonely. I'm just trying to be a one and only. I'm liking the way that you force it up on me. Baby, come with me, come and show me. Come for me when you're lonely. I'm just trying to be a one and only. I'm liking ya. I'm liking your way. Liking ya. Liking your way. Liking ya. I'm liking your way. Liking ya. Way to fight, girl. Come fight the nigga. Niggas in our time, girl. And the slow time, girl. Yeah, tell you know you are. You stay, I'm looking to live. That's by the way I can't concentrate without you. Tell yourself like that food in my pocket, but I'm for a fool. I don't need to see you outside, I know it. That's why you look at me slide.
All right, this is the last one, then we're going to get started, yeah? The show will commence shortly. Until then, I'll give you a little quiz that you can do in the meantime. Yes, you can use the chat to answer. Just put number 1, what your answer is, 2, what your answer is, 3, what your answer is, and I'll reveal shortly.
Don't give a chance to nobody. And I just did.
Right. Hello, 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 hello. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm so grateful that all of you could join me for this webinar today. I'm about to plug into my headphones to improve that audio so that you can all hear me clearly. If you can hear me clearly, just message in the chat and say "I." Awesome. Good, good, good. I'm going to reveal the answers now to this quick quiz before we start. So what proportion of the UK wealth is owned by women? Is actually B, 48%. So nearly half of all UK wealth is held by women. Question 2 was what proportion of UK angel investors are women? The correct answer is 14%. So despite the fact that women hold nearly half of all UK wealth, only 14% are investing in this asset class, which is part of the problem that we need to try and alleviate to get more women active in investing in startups. And the third question was what proportion of UK investment went to female and mixed gender teams in 2019? And sadly, the answer was A, it was only 9%. Okay, and we did this quiz yesterday as part of the Angel Investing School, which is a company that I run that trains professionals on how to get started with investing into startups. And I'm very, very pleased and fortunate to say that 50% or 45% of our cohort are actually women, more representing the amount of women that actually hold wealth in the UK. But moving on to why we're here. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. We've got an hour of power here. I'm going to take you to church, so you're going to have to let me preach. Okay?
Hi, Rita. How are you doing? I am in a Zoom call that's actually quite important for investment, and I completely forgot to tell you again. I'm really sorry.
So this is a reminder to everyone. Put your mic on mute. Okay?
Shit, sorry.
It's all right. That's all right. I was listening into the call. I thought you were talking to the homie, but that's okay. Put your mics on mute. And at the end, I'll make sure we have some time to go through some questions. But it's going to be an hour of power. I'm going to preach. But what I need from you, and this is the disclaimer, right? This is what I need from you. This is your promise to me, is that this is going to be raw, authentic, and very open. But I highly advise you to open up a Word doc, a notepad, or some sort of system that's going to allow you to take notes, because we're going to go through a lot and we're going to go real quick. So you're going to need some kind of mechanism to start taking notes as I'm talking, okay? And at the end, if you have any questions, we'll bring that right back, okay? We're going to go through a lot of very, very actionable things today and examples. So hopefully you can relate to a lot of what I'm going to go through. You've been warned, okay? You've been warned. So I'm using a tool actually today called Miro. And I'll touch on it at the end about how this tool works. But hopefully it's going to be a bit more interactive than your usual webinar, and you're not going to just stare at my handsome face for an hour, okay? Laughing, the cheek, can you hear it? But can you go on mute, please? Can you go on mute? Laugh at the jokes, but laugh on mute, okay? So just a couple of rules quickly before we get started, okay? Number one is I want everyone to enjoy themselves, right? I want everyone to have a good time today, yeah? If you agree with something that's being said, have the jazz hands up. I've got some of your pictures here. And if not, you can even just put it in your chat and just say, yes, I agree with that. Take me to church, okay? And if you have questions at the end, make sure you speak up and you ask those questions. Feel free to write them in the chat as you go along so you don't forget as well, okay? And then we've got one rule called Elmo, okay? And that's when you can come off mute. And that's if I'm going on too much on a subject you want us to move on, you're free to say Elmo. And Elmo just means enough, let's move on. Okay, there's enough to get through, so I don't mind. I ain't gonna be offended, okay? And lastly, you see what this shortcut here is showing you? It's showing you to screenshot, to share on IG stories, Boomerang, tell a friend, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Feel free to take pictures today. Feel free to take any notes you want and share it on socials, okay? You were the 215 that signed up that have the privilege to be here today. The rest of them didn't sign up, so they don't get to be here. So we're going to make them jealous for doing that, right? So while we're here today, I'm going to walk through the agenda real quick, okay? I want to take you on a journey, and I want you to trust me on that journey to really walk through some of the challenges that businesses as well as individuals are facing in light of COVID-19, okay? I'm going to give you some examples of companies, individuals, influencers that have really done well to pivot during this crisis already, okay? Then we're going to walk through how you find existing customers and how you nurture and retain your existing customers, how you find new customers, and retain those existing customers. And then finally, I'm going to just make working from home a little bit easier for everyone and introduce you to a few tools along with the one that I'm using here now. So if you don't know who I am already, my name's Andy Ayim. I run the Angel Investing School that teaches professionals on how to get started with investing into startups. Currently running through a cohort now, actually. And I also, on the side, run a productized consulting service where I consult large organizations in highly regulated industries on how to set up product teams and work with engineers in creating apps on the website and on mobile, okay? So I'm gonna be your steward. You're gonna trust me on this journey, and I'm gonna take you on a bit of a story through this hour, okay? And if you do have any questions throughout, and you don't wanna forget, feel free to just pop it into the chat. Okay. So why are you here? No, real talk. I actually wanna know, why are you here? Some of you can come off mute and just tell me. I wanna learn why people came to this, why people signed up.
Expand our minds.
I wanted to hear the pastor of business preach.
I'm currently working on like building traction for my startup while during this pandemic. It hasn't actually been like a nightmare, believe it or not, but I feel like, you know, I follow you on LinkedIn and I feel like you have some stuff that I don't know about. So I wanted to check out what you know and apply it to my business.
No, I feel that. Thank you. Love for that.
I know you always drop some gems, so
exactly.
I woke up early.
Exactly.
No, I appreciate that.
I figured if something of value would come of this, so let me take out an hour of my time.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm going to continue now, but thank you for those contributions and those answers. Here are a few things I thought before I came into this room today. So number one, there's some business owners in the room. We just heard from one, right? That was talking about traction, okay? We'll see what other reasons people may be here. And I may have I may have my wires crossed, but let's hope not. Two, you might be here because you actually want to start a business. You know, if that's you in the chat, say I and let us know what your business is in the chat. Okay, there's some people here that maybe are working on the evenings and weekends, but really want to transition so they can start working full time on their business. I've been there, I can fully empathize and I get that, okay? Number three, any guesses, anyone? What could number three be? Gonna look in the chat, but you feel free to come off mute.
You want to make money.
Some people here because they want to make money. Okay, any other guesses? All right, I'm going to reveal it and show you.
You want to invest?
For some people, work is just boring and this is free. So I might as well be here and check it out. I might actually get some value from this. And I hope this isn't true, but for the majority of you, the truth might just be that actually you're in the wrong webinar, but this sounds kind of interesting. It's kind of awkward too, but you're going to stick around anyway. So stick around and I'm going to take you on a journey. And where I want to start actually is with a story of a business that I started a decade ago in 2010 at the end of the last financial crisis called Mixtape Madness with my brother and a few friends. And what was interesting at the time is that I was working full time. All of us were as co-founders and we were doing this part-time, very much in that evenings and weekends. And I know a lot of you lot can relate to that when getting started with your story. And at the beginning of this journey, actually, we made a big mistake. We created a 20-page business plan, really elaborate plan for what we wanted to do in business. And the reason I call it a mistake is because what I've realized on this entrepreneurial journey is that, you know, when you start off with an idea, you're not actually a company, you're just a startup. And a startup is just a founding team on the search to research and find a business model that is actually repeatable and scalable in order for them to become a company. So we call that product market fit. And at the time, I didn't realize that. So I spent all this time and effort creating a business plan, 20 pages, when in reality, all that had was, it was full of assumptions and it was just full of guesses. What was the financial model going to be and your financial plan for the next year? I don't really know. You know, who am I going to sell to? At the time, I didn't really know. How was I going to make money? I didn't really know. So what was the purpose of doing this plan? It was only 3 years into the business that we created actually a business model canvas, which is a 1-page version of that same plan. But what it was good at was teasing out what I assumed the business model was going to be. And it therefore gave me a basis to go off now and start doing my research to validate what was true and what wasn't, okay? So here we can see this definition that I tweeted a couple of weeks ago around a company. Sole purpose is about selling a product or service in exchange for revenue at a profit. Whereas a startup is not really technically a company, but a founding team on a search for a repeatable and scalable business model in order to become a company, okay? And I wish I realized this at the beginning of my journey, right? But I've realized it now, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. That's part of the purpose of why I'm doing this today, okay? So I want to walk through the 2 things that we were really good at Mixtape Madness, looking back, was sales and speaking to customers early and often, okay? So this is an example from our first initial ad pack, okay? So this is what we used to send to advertisers. The business model for Mixtape Madness was that we allowed people to come to our website to consume UK hip hop and rap music, okay? And advertisers would then pay, because of the audience numbers that we have, to advertise on our site. It was pretty simple. And this sheet below, embarrassing to show this now, but this is how we were tracking sales. It was like, we sold this package, we sold that package. And when you look under MM Broker, that column there, you see that Andy, who is me, was really on job in selling, because I understood that sales equated to runway. The more I could sell, the more months I could go on building this business. So I understood that revenue was at the core of proving that I was actually delivering something valuable to users. And along that journey, we started doing things that are now deemed as growth hacking, right? So one was when actually Wikipedia had a window of opportunity where we could edit Wikipedia pages. So we'd go in, right? Shh, don't tell no one. We'd go in, right? And would edit the pages of people like Skepta, Dizzy Rascal, and some of the artists that I was playing before we started this webinar. And what we would do is not edit any of the content and the writing, but rather create backlinks to make it more useful, so that if you wanted to listen to that song that was referenced or that mixtape, it will click back and lead back to our website. And we had about 70,000 registered users in the first 3 years off the back of those smart little growth hacks that we were experimenting with as we were growing. And what I've realized is that we actually developed a lot of resilience, because we were born at a time, we started a business at a time where we lacked any funding and we lacked any access to funding. So we had no choice but to be frugal, okay? So some of the best businesses, I wanna remind you right now, some of the best businesses are born out of moments of desperation and challenge, because it forces you to be more resilient as an entrepreneur, okay? And if we even look at music and extend this story, right? I don't know how many of you have been on Instagram recently, right? This is actually an embarrassing picture of the site that we started with and where Mixtape Madness is in now. And for those that have been on Instagram, you would have noticed, for example, those into music, that Timbaland and Swiss Beats have been holding something called Verses, right? And it's incredible what they've done with this. What they've done is that they've created, through Instagram, validation that there's an audience of people that want this content. And what they were doing was letting different producers battle and share what beats that they produced. And as you can see in this tweet below, there was 4 million people that tuned in on the 21st of April, okay? They didn't build any technology. They didn't build any tech, any business. What they did is they validated the value of their idea. And they thought about what is the quickest, cost-effective, cheapest, easiest thing that I can do to validate it. And what they did was leverage Instagram to do that, okay? The truth is now they're in a position where they can actually go to market and say, now we've got an audience, let's build a platform so that we can convert more of these people that have tuned into this versus battle into people that are actually going to plug into our platform and sign up to us. Because at that moment when they're going to have a direct relationship with their consumers, okay, which is very important because data is the new oil. It's at that moment when they can speak to their consumers directly and they're not actually held ransom by any algorithms or any platforms on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, okay? I hope that makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense. The importance of having a direct relationship with your customers. And we're going to touch back on that, okay? And during my years in doing Mixtape Madness with my brother and a few friends, we had what we call a profitable pivot. And what we saw occur was that we wanted to stop dragging users to our site to consume music because we noticed that consumers were naturally starting to form habits on other platforms to consume the music they loved. Platforms such as Apple Music, Tidal, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube. So we had to go to where our customers are, okay? That's an important point. We had to grow where our customers were. We had to go to where they were and build a presence there. And as you can see with the numbers there, almost 1 million on YouTube, 360K on Instagram, we built a following where our audience was, okay? And in times of crisis, it's really important to pay attention to where your audience's attention is because that's where you're gonna see growth, okay? Now I'm gonna walk you through another story. I hope all of this is making sense so far. If it's making sense and you're getting value already, give me an I.
I.
I'm seeing it on all the comments. All right. I'm not gonna DJ with that. That's real good. Thank you. All right. So this person on our screen is Thanos, legendary from the Avengers. Everyone knows Thanos. Okay. Now Thanos was in the Infinite Games, right? He was in a 2-part story, the Infinite Games. What happened in the Infinite Games? What happened is that Thanos went on a journey through the universe to collect these Infinity Stones. Yeah? Similar to the crisis that we're in now. We saw it coming. We saw that China had the COVID, had coronavirus, okay? And we were ill prepared, even though we had that warning. The same thing happened in this movie where the universe was aware that Thanos was going on this journey, but failed to unite and collaborate in uniting with a single solution to solve this problem. It's one of the things that worry me about this crisis is that every country is kind of dealing with it on an individual basis rather than collectively dealing with this problem, seeing as coronavirus knows no gender, knows no race, and knows no borders, right? But then what gives me hope is that when we look at the end games, that's when the Avengers came together, right? And that's where they collectively came together to solve this problem, okay? And we're gonna talk on the collaboration a little bit more because actually it's through collaborating that we're gonna get through this crisis and working with each other, right? And there's enough space in the market for us to do this, all right? Because as a culture, we need to get better at working together to create value and create that wealth that we all seek, yeah? A lot of us are very value aligned, but when it comes to putting pen to paper and working together, we're not too good at doing that. We need to be better at that, okay? So I wanna show you an email actually that I received about 2 weeks ago, okay? And this email was from someone who got introduced to me by a mutual friend. And if you see the second line of this email, the person says that they were in the middle of a number of different interview processes, but they noticed that all of the roles being offered have been pulled back, okay? This is the market conditions that we're in. The reality is that everything is changing, okay? Not just on our high streets, but at home, at work, with our families, and in our entire lives, okay? In our entire lives. So this is a very, very stark reality of what we're gonna be seeing post-COVID. It hasn't hit all of us yet, right? We've been self-isolating. It hasn't actually hit all of us yet. But it's gonna be a real reality that is gonna take some time for our high streets to return, okay? Our high streets were struggling before COVID, let alone now. You heard the news about Primark. Primark is a UK high street store that sells low value clothing. They don't have an online store. They are gonna be really struggling. I wouldn't be surprised in 6 to 12 months if they haven't got the cash reserves, we're gonna see that they're gonna be in administration, sadly, okay? I want everyone to understand that the economic impacts of what we're going through has not yet really been felt. This is a 3, 6, 9, 12-month journey. Economically, it could actually take years for recovery to really happen across certain industries. Okay, it's really important to understand the context of this. Okay, I want to tell a story now in 4 charts. Okay, if we look at hiring, okay, what we need to understand is that business change takes time. Changing internal processes from hiring to onboarding to how we collaborate and work together internally takes time. At the same time, you're trying to run your business as usual, okay? And at the same time, you're fighting fires to stay afloat. So this reality is very real that we're seeing in the first chart, that hiring via LinkedIn has obviously contracted, because at the moment, a lot of companies haven't got the capabilities or the internal processes to switch and learn how to hire remotely. It's gonna take time, okay? Most are not set up well for working remotely, let alone for hiring remotely, which is why we're seeing these hiring freezes. That's what we just saw in that email, okay? And as a consequence, we need to think about, okay, how do we onboard new people? How do we start hiring? Because this reality may last 1 month, 3 months, or 5. So we're gonna have to adapt at some point, okay? The most obvious impact of this virus is that spending is falling to zero for most discretionary items, okay? And when I say discretionary items, I'm talking about things like restaurants, bars, pubs, cinemas, gyms, leisure centers. They have no choice but to close. That's what this second chart is showing us. And you have to remember, with businesses like restaurants, they're actually a slim margin business. They make some of them 3 to 5% margins. A great restaurant makes 5 to 15%, right? So they haven't got the cash reserves, a lot of them, to survive this. It's the honest truth. We need to understand the ripple effects that's happening across industries. And that's why I'm going through these charts, okay? If we look at the housing market now, sales have crashed with over 70% drop and increasing. This was of March, to be honest, 70% and increasing in houses being listed for sale or rent. Obviously, because we're self-isolating, we can't even visit a house, let alone buy a house. It's not a priority right now because we're in crisis, okay? Like, I've been speaking to estate agents recently. 5 out of the 5 estate agents have all furloughed the majority of their staff because they've had to, because they're trying to survive, okay? And this last graph shows the macro view, the high level view, yeah? And this is by Robert Wood, who's an economist at the Bank of America. And he has revised down his UK growth forecast for 2020 to 7.4% contraction, because he's calculating that the UK stimulus measures that the government is providing are going to be less effective than we assumed, okay? And this is going to be one of the largest contractions since 1900. Just to think about the scale of what I'm describing here. And yesterday, for you entrepreneurs, the UK government actually released their plans for the, the Future Fund, okay? And again, a lot of diverse entrepreneurs especially are not eligible for this, simply for the fact that you have to have raised 250K in the last 5 years, okay? And in America, they're introducing similar stimulus packages for entrepreneurs and small businesses. I can't talk to it too much, but similar packages. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about this ripple effects that we're seeing. Okay, I'm going to walk through a few industries from a few businesses that I've been speaking to. Okay, so imagine now that you're a business that offers point of sale software. Yeah, so that's the software we use to pay with our cards when we go into our shops. Okay, point of sale software, POS software. Yeah. Debenhams has gone into administration. Primark don't have an online store, only a physical store. Suddenly, if 60% to 70, 80% of your client base is no longer in business, what happens to your revenue as a point of sale provider? You're stuffed, okay? Now let's move to the cinema industry. Warner Brothers, Universal, Disney, they're all releasing movies now through online distributors. What is the ripple effect of that? It means less pricing power as they don't even have a choice right now. They've been invested in certain movies for 2 or 3 years. They've got a backlog of movies that they've already invested in. They have to release them, okay? When cinemas return, the economics have changed because now there's bargaining power with online providers who have now gained access to the movies that they've always wanted, okay? Let's take Disney as a case study. This is really interesting. Disney released Disney Plus and have had record subscriber numbers, given the crisis. On the flip side, 50% of Disney's operating profit comes from Disneyland theme parks, which are all right now closed. In fact, Disney announced 2 weeks ago that they're actually letting go of 100,000 members of staff in order to save them $500 million a month. This is the scale of change. The ripple effect is more deeper than what we're seeing on the surface, okay? Let's talk about schools, all right? Schools, on the one hand, you're seeing innovation like Joe TV on YouTube at 9 a.m. training kids, And some of them have embraced some remote tools like Zoom and speaking to parents about homeschooling and sending homeschooling kits. But the truth is, most of them don't have the IT infrastructure to support remote working or remote teaching, okay? It's a real struggle. Then let's go to tech startups that have raised VC funding and so to other small businesses, right? They're struggling right now, a lot of them, especially the B2B players, because what their strategy was let's raise some funding, then let's go and sell to other small businesses, because those sales only take a month or two to close, rather than selling to massive corporates like a Microsoft or a Disney, which might take 12 months plus to sell. And because of that, the concentration of all of their sales with these small businesses mean that these small businesses are struggling, which means that they're going to be struggling. It was attractive at first because it was a quicker sell, okay, rather than selling into large corporates. But now they're pissed because they have slim cash reserves and they can't raise additional funding to help get them through this crisis. Many were unprofitable and just relied on raising money in order to grow aggressively. Where are they now? Okay, and then let's look at barbershops. Yeah, right now they're having to pivot because they cannot cut hair, because you cannot make contact. So people are thinking like, how can I cut my own hair? Like the barbers now, maybe they've been furloughed, some of them might not have been, but actually what's the result of even the landlords that owns that premises? They're now struggling. They can mortgage freeze for maybe 3 months, but what happens when that ripple effect hits them? So now we're starting to see and feel those examples of how the ripple effect is really being felt across industries, okay? And like I always say to a lot of my startups, the advantage that all of you have as business owners right now is that it's easier to turn a jet ski than a cruise ship, okay? As a small business, this is your unique advantage. Tap into your unique ability to solve problems, because when you solve a problem, it builds trust with your community of customers, okay? In times of trouble, we need to return to solving hair on fire problems, the things that are urgent for our customers today. Because the things that were urgent when you first started your business may not be the same things that are urgent for your customer today, given the context of the problems that they're facing, given the crisis that we're in, okay? If you're following and this is making a lot of sense, I want to see those jazz hands, and I want to hear an I, okay?
I.
Good. So you lot are getting a lot of value from this. Good.
I from event performance.
All right. We've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to keep it moving because I really want to apportion some time for some good conversation and Q&A, okay? So obviously, it goes without saying that there's certain companies that are well positioned because they happen to be solving a problem that's now in high demand, okay? And let's take Zoom as an example, but I could have said Slack, Instagram, Microsoft Teams, e-commerce companies, because suddenly we're ordering so much more to our houses. Funny enough, plant companies that sell plants, because people are ordering a lot more for their homes as well, So for example, like, tell me if you've ordered from Amazon in the last 5 days, just say I. Who's actually ordered from Amazon in 5 days? Right? All contributing to the wealth of Jeff Bezos. Look at you all feel guilty, don't you? But so have I. I ordered yesterday.
I don't feel guilty.
I feel awful. Okay, so some people are thriving right now, and you can too. Okay. The downside that we don't see on the surface is that a lot of these companies are more exposed as a result of this. So Zoom have had increased pressure around security issues. This infamous Zoom bombing that's been going on, where people are jumping into random Zooms. So Zoom wasn't ready for this pressure, weren't ready for this public scrutiny. Okay, so we have to understand that there's actually a downside to that fast growth, because you have to make tough decisions around what you will and what you won't do. Okay, so I invested, for example, in a company called Tambua Health last year that basically uses sound frequencies to analyze your lungs for respiratory diseases such as tuberculosis, pneumonia, and obviously, given the crisis that we're in now, they're actually in demand. You know, they can't keep up with sales right now because so many people need their software and hardware, given the healthcare issues that we're facing as a planet, which is rare to say, right? So this climate enables you to build more resilience in your business so that you can survive this downturn, but also means that you are going to thrive when it's the good terms, okay? And what we can see on the screen here is a Chinese quote, a Chinese word, wei zhe, which is similar to the Japanese quote, kanju, okay? And what it means is that for those that have the privilege to be optimistic and pay attention to where the opportunity lies, times like this is actually a time of danger and crisis that breeds opportunity also, okay? And here's some receipts and some evidence on the right-hand side, okay? I was on a call with Index Ventures 2 weeks ago, yeah? I bring you the inside scoop. That's what you get from coming to these webinars. I was on a call with Index Ventures, and their top performing VC fund was their growth funds that they ran between 2008 and 2011, okay? This included investments in Dropbox, which is IPO'd, SoundCloud, Last.fm, which was acquired, Love Film, Betfair, Moo, and many more US companies as well, okay? I want to remind you of some of the other companies that was created between 2008 and 2011, in case you've forgotten, okay? Levi Roots, Reggae Sauce, that legendary Dragon's Den for the UK audience. Groupon, Uber, Market Invoice, Airbnb, Slack, Ella's Kitchen, for all those that have kids born in that recession, Ella's Kitchen, WhatsApp, Square, Not on the High Street, Instagram, Zoopla. So many companies were born in that last crisis, and so many companies will do now. Now, my only caveat is that I don't want you to be biased based on what I've just shared you. Okay, survivorship bias means that we're always going to play up the people that survive. But for each one that survived, there's thousands others that failed. And what we're walking through today is how we can mitigate the risk and reduce the risk of you becoming one of that herd of failures, but rather we want you to become one of the survivors that end up thriving through this crisis, okay? I want to share this quote with you, okay? Too many people in business major on minor things. I'm going to tell it again so that you hear what I'm saying. I know you can read it, but you need to hear it. Too many people in business major on minor things, okay? Does that make sense? It means those people that are focused on the logo, on the Instagram, on how it looks, on registering the company, on the design of the website, and they're not focused enough on retention. How many customers are we keeping from who we're acquiring? They're not focused enough on sales. You know how hard it is to sell? Sales, fundamental to successful businesses. Can you keep on selling? And from those that you're selling to, can you keep those that you're selling to prove that you can add value to people on an ongoing basis, okay? We need to focus on finding who our customers are, how to reach them, what problems you can solve for them, and how to reach more people like them to sell to, okay? I'll repeat that again. We need to focus on finding who our customers are, how to reach them, what problems you can solve for them, and how to reach more people like them to sell to, okay? So now I'm gonna walk through some actionable frameworks, all right? I've done the context setting, I've done the motivational thing. Now we're gonna walk through pen to paper. This is where your hands are gonna start bunning you hear me? All right? So first thing, are you in survival mode, thriving mode, or you're just getting by? Are you surviving, thriving, or just getting by? Okay? That's the three modes that you can be in right now, okay? And to do that, you need to ask yourself these questions. Are you seeing growth? Okay? Are you actually falling apart, all right? Or are you chugging along? Okay? I'll repeat that again. Are you seeing growth? Are you falling apart? Or are you just chugging along? Okay? You're just about surviving, okay? These are some actions to take if you're failing or you're just chugging along, all right? Number one, extending your runway. Let me describe what runway means. Runway means money in the bank. Based on the money in the bank, how many months of can I afford to operate my business? Okay. And you as an entrepreneur need to do everything you can to extend your runway. Okay. You need to cut certain costs. You need to negotiate with certain suppliers. You need to try and get discounts. You need to try and pause certain subscriptions that you have, right? It's like me saying right now, you know, my household ain't doing too well. I've got to put that cable TV and that Netflix on pause. Just for now, just to survive, I've got to put it on pause. That's what we have to do with our businesses, okay? Most suppliers are willing because they understand and they're feeling the pinch too, okay? And if they value long-term relationships, which is the business that we're all in the business of forming and nurturing long-term relationships, then they'll understand that you need to pause, okay? The second, which is what we're going to walk through in a second, is worst case scenario planning. You need to understand what happens if, you know, you had to sustain for 6 months with no revenue. Can you? What about 18 months without the ability to profitably acquire customers? Can you survive? We need to start planning for different scenarios because no one knows how this ends or when this ends. So the best thing that we can do is just understand our different options and the different levers we can pull depending on the scenarios that we're facing, okay? We need to cut deep and fast, okay? And this is contradictory what I'm going to say here, okay? But if you make difficult decisions, you've got to make them quickly. You need to cut deep, and it's probably going to be deeper than you feel comfortable doing, okay? But you do it once and you do it in one go and you do it with empathy and transparency. It shouldn't surprise any of your employees. You need to take them along this journey and be transparent with them and be open with them, which means being vulnerable. And a lot of us are not comfortable with doing that, but we have to be, okay? We have to be. And the truth is, you know that it affects their livelihoods as well, okay? But it's better to cut deep and cut fast than to let it go on for months when you knew that you should have taken that decision 2 months ago. We've all been in that position before when you've applied for a job or you stayed in a job too long, where you knew in your heart that it was your purpose and your destiny to leave that place sooner, but you couldn't do it. You couldn't take the leap, you know? Or when you were starting your business and you really wanted to start it a year ago, but you couldn't take the leap. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, okay? Now, what I want to walk through quickly is this framework for how you do scenario analysis, okay? So I'm going to walk through this framework for how you analyze your scenarios, okay? So going along the horizontal axis, which means from left to right, we have things that are outside of your control, okay? If it rains, if it's stormy, if it's snowing, those are examples of things outside of your control, all right? The economic downturn right now caused by COVID is an example of something that's out of your control. And if we look at those scenarios, which I'm going to show you in a second, scenario A will show what it looks like when we have 3 months of revenue loss. So 3 months without making that money, all right? Scenario B will show what it looks like with 6 months revenue lost. And scenario C will show what it looks like if we have 12 months where we can't make revenue, okay? Then on the vertical axis, okay, this is from top to bottom now on your left, plan A, and these are all things that are in our control. So these are things that we can do. It's important to understand your sphere of influence. What are the things that are in my control that I can actually do? Plan A, you can do nothing. And we can see how that plays out depending on whether scenario A, B, or C plays out, okay? Then there's plan B, where you can reduce your costs by 15%. Things like what I mentioned before, like negotiating with your suppliers, putting subscriptions on pause. You know, for some of you, sadly, it's going to be furloughing or cutting staff, okay? And plan C is when you have to make deep cuts. That's cutting your costs by 25% or whatever that number is that makes sense for you, okay? And as I reveal this, it shows you, and take a screenshot right now. Remember I told you those shortcuts, take your screenshots right now because you want to keep this slide so you can model this out for yourself and do it in your business. Can everybody say, can people just come off mute right now and say, hell yeah, if this is something that you need to do for your business right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope you screenshot. Have you screenshot that?
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right,
Yep.
screenshot that. If you haven't got a screenshot, if you don't know the shortcut, let's be ghetto and take our smartphones out and just take a picture of the screen. We're gonna have to move like that, okay? We're gonna have to move like that. We're gonna keep it moving. 3, 2, 1. All right. That's scenario analysis. No, you're welcome. I'm here to add value. Okay. You see this duffel bag with this money? Okay. We're not in this scenario right now. We're far from it. But what we need to do is we need to secure the bag. I want to keep it PC, but you need to make sure you have enough cash in the bank so you can survive the months coming ahead. And remember, because you don't know how long that is, you just need to make sure that you have enough cash in the bank. Okay. Retention is your number one goal, not acquisition, but retention. How can I keep my existing customers happy? I'll give you an example. I was speaking to a company recently called Go Cardless, and they do payments processing for like gyms, let's say. And some of their gyms have had to close down. So rather than their gyms canceling, they gave the option for their gyms to pause their membership, their subscription, which means that I haven't lost you as a customer. I can reactivate it once you're back to good times, you know? So you're saying there that I empathize and I understand that in the short term, this is not good for me as a business because it means that I'm losing that cash. But in the long term, I still have that customer. And that's what we want, that long-term value of the customer, because it's more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing customer, okay? I'm gonna repeat that again. It's more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing customer, okay? Now I wanna move on to your messaging and your positioning, right? Because this is really key in this market to really make sure that you have that empathy and you're showing it through your messaging and your positioning, okay? So what we need to do is we need to find your unique voice in this situation, okay? Even if you can't sell, right, like your barbershop, you can still build awareness, all right? And what I'm gonna walk through first is action to reposition yourself, okay? This is one of those moments in the presentation yet again, where you're gonna have to screenshot this because what I'm sharing here is pure gold, all right? And let me walk through this. Number one, focus on new and emerging trends, okay? What are the, not trends, sorry, needs. What are the new and emerging needs of your customers? Like I said before, what their needs were 12 months ago, even 6 months ago, has changed because of the context that customer finds themselves in. This is about empathy for here, stepping in the shoes of your customers to understand what is urgent according to them. Because remember, you're not building a business for yourself. You're not paying yourself revenue. You're building it for them. Okay, so therefore we need to step into their shoes and understand things from their perspective to see if you can reposition yourself in the market right now to focus on what their needs are. Okay, look for the new use cases that may have been unlocked or new personas because everything may have changed. One of the ways that you can do this in a sneaky way is to look at what your competitors are doing. Go and experience what they're doing. Give them a fake phone call, like if you're a customer. You know, go and sign up to their services. Go and see what the competitors are doing because they may actually give you indications and validate that there's problems worth solving that you weren't aware of. And therefore, you can dare take that what you see with your competitors and you can test it and validate it with your own audience too. The second is to test it on socials first, all right? Don't build anything, don't create anything, just content. Test a bit of content on socials first, get some feedback and then keep iterating on that, right? So for me, sometimes I test things through Insta stories before I even put it into my feed, you know? And with Insta stories, what I've done is I've used the close friends feature for my true fans. So for those that really love my content, sign up to my webinars, sign up to my newsletter, love what I do, I let them inside, I give them a behind the scenes view and I share certain stories only to my true fans. But that's the same audience that I test things with and get feedback from before I test it with my wider audience across social platforms. Use features like close friends on Instagram in a smart way for those that are most engaged with your product. The second is to look at Google Trends. You can literally Google Trends. Google Trends for the keywords that are skyrocketing given the crisis that we're in. Okay, this is for free. Right? This is for free because it's based on those trends that you can tailor your messaging and positioning appropriately. Okay. In fact, you should actually do that on Google Trends before you even test out the content on socials. The third is to pay attention to the market. Get inspiration not only from your competitors in your category, but what are others even trying and doing? And I'm going to give you some examples in a second. Yeah, and then finally, it's all about showing empathy, because we've moved to an era with the internet where people want to connect with people and not companies. Okay, don't include COVID in your messaging. Instead, come up with a solution to the problem rather than reiterating the problem, which they've heard time and time again, which is making them anxious. Remember, you want to be a painkiller, a stress reliever. Okay, you want to add value to them. Okay. What does this mean? Major key alert. Major key alert. What does that actually mean? It means I've got something for you. I've got something for you. You've got enough so far? I've got more for you. Okay? This is what we call the AIDA model. Marketers know about this model. AIDA stands for awareness, interest, desire, and action. During this crisis, we do not want to take action and force people to transact with the content that we're creating. We want to take a step back and create what we say is awareness content, to making them aware of what we do, being helpful to them, solving problems that they care about today. And if they're interested, we can form a direct relationship through getting their phone number or their email address. Those are the two key parameters for getting a direct relationship with your customers, so that you're not restricted by having to talk to them through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, because you can talk to them through your newsletter, through email, or whichever way you want to directly. Very, very important. This is the oil. Data is the new oil, okay? The less selling and more focusing on establishing trust, confidence, support. So that means for some of you, it's going to have to be a change in your tone, okay? And you want to keep them engaged so that you're front of mind post-crisis, okay? You want to be front of mind post-crisis, okay? So right now, this is an example of Google searches from Google Trends during this crisis in COVID. It was actually taken in March, okay? And this is by a company called Charter, C-H-A-T-R, okay? I'll put it in the chat, Charter, C-H-A-T-R, okay? Okay, it's for free. Sign up to their newsletter for free, follow their Instagram for free, and they give you valuable insight like this on your doorstep, okay? This is what I'm trying to say to you. Can I preach? What I'm trying to say to you all is that the information is out there, but some of you face a paradox of choice because you don't know how to go to trusted sources. So the gems I'm dropping right now is, these are the trusted sources. These are the places you can go to for trusted, valuable information to inform your decision making, so you're not making it in isolation alone, okay? So look at some of the trends that we're seeing. How to cut your own hair. I've had to even Google that myself. I had to give myself a shape up the other day. You know, I got dreads up top. I'm worried about that too, okay? How to work out at home. You know, we've seen people like Ciara London on Instagram killing it with the workouts at home, you know? For some people, is how to keep kids busy. You know, I'm an arts and craft ninja. So I'm keeping my daughter real busy. You'll see it on my Instagram if you're my close friend. That's what I'm telling you, okay? So these are examples of some of the trends that are important to be aware of. And now we're going to look at some examples of actual people and what they're doing, because this is the juice. This is where I can spill the tea. Okay, this is where we get juicy. Okay, so let's look first at trim it and slider cuts. Okay, so these are barbering services. So slider cut has, I think, 2 different barbershops in London, right? What he's done is he's teaching people how to cut hair. Why is he doing that? Is he going to lose his customers? Are people now suddenly going to start cutting their hair and never go to barbershops? No, let's be real. No, they're not. People want the convenience of the barbershop. Some people love the culture and the experience of going into the barbershop. So they ain't going nowhere, okay? The other thing that we need to be aware of is post-crisis, if he's front of mind, his customers will return to his shop. And in fact, he'll have even more customers, okay? Then let's look at someone like Trim It, the barbering service. What they've done that's really smart is that they've now allowed people to subscribe in advance, so that if you want a trim, you can sign up now, join their mailing list, get a discount, and be rewarded for that, okay? And that's what they're doing. They're saying you sign up now and you'll get a discount. Again, smart thinking post-crisis, because we can't cut hair now, but we can create compelling campaigns to connect with our customers, okay? So now let's look at another case study. okay? And this is an influencer called Christelle Lim, okay? And what she's been doing is sharing the realities of her family and being vulnerable and what it is actually like for her working at home. The picture alone is genius, right? We can all relate to this. She's literally working in the shower, but she's dressed up on purpose to show that she's working from home with her laptop on her lap, okay, whilst taking care of 2 children, right? Her caption is real, it's relatable, okay, and it's showing us the tea, it's spilling the tea to say, I understand you, okay? Look at what she's put in capital. A lot is done in any given day. Is really freaking challenging. All of us can relate to that, especially those with kids, you know, and those without might be feeling like it's a lonely experience right now, or they're working too much, right? So you want to make this real and relatable content. Again, connecting with people and humans, okay? That's what we're in the business of doing, connecting with the people and the humans here, yeah? Not just the company and the brands, okay? And you want to also speak about the current climate in the ways that show your audience that you understand and can engage with them, okay? Because you're being dedicated to being part of their solution, not that contributing to the problem, okay? I'm gonna move to a company now called House. And House do direct to customer, D2C, direct to customer deliveries for their alcoholic beverages, okay? And one of their distribution channels was selling through restaurants. But obviously, restaurants are closed right now, right? They can't operate right now. So what they've done here is they've created a campaign called the Restaurant Project, which is doing social good, but also getting in the minds of a new audience and acquiring customers for cheap. So what they've done here is that they've created a campaign where they say they're going to give 100% of the sales of the drinks that are sold during this campaign to restaurant owners to help them stay alive. This is really smart on 2 fronts. One front, they're helping restaurants survive. Good for society, but good for them because they sell drinks into restaurants and that's wholesale. They know what they're doing. They're not just playing the good guy, the good girl. No, they're strategic with this move. The second reason why it's good is because you might have the goodness of your heart to support this campaign, but you have a little sip of their scissor and then suddenly you're like, this drink is actually kind of nice. I'm gonna buy some more. So what they've just done is acquired you for cheap. So this is a smart strategy to acquire customers, but also retain their distribution channel through restaurants, okay? All right? This is in the market. Now let's go to influencers that are smaller, right? 6,000 followers, Naturally Crowned, okay? What she does is she's in a niche of coaching moms on how to take care of their kids' natural hair, yeah? What a niche. Niche means nothing now, okay? Because we're connected with a long tail by the internet, which means that there's a long tail of us that are connected by the internet, all right? I've seen the time, don't worry, okay? I've seen the time, don't worry. I'ma continue, okay? I'ma continue. I know some of you are worried that we've got 4 minutes left. I ain't asked no questions. This is juicy, he ain't finished. Don't worry, I'm on premium Zoom account, you feel me? We're gonna continue, we ain't restricted to just 45 minutes, you see? All right, so Naturally Crowned, okay? So she coaches moms on how to take care of their kids' hair, okay? And she released an ebook. And for the first 50 people that bought it, they got it for £9. Those ebooks went within an hour, okay? For $9.99. And now she sells it for $19.99, okay? She is creating multiple streams of revenue, of income, okay? This is what we talk about being resilient and being smart and being fast to react into the market, okay? But she also does one-to-one consultations, webinars, masterclasses, all in her IG profile, okay? So right now, what you need to do is you need to tap into your expertise and tap into your unique voice in order to become one of these companies that can actually perform the profit pivot, like what we've just seen, okay? We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going, all right? Just come off mute quickly and tell me if you're still getting value, because I know that is me talking a lot to you.
Much value.
All right. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going, okay? Now, this is another genius example, okay? And before I go into it, I want to actually describe to you the difference between a pivot and an incremental change, okay? A pivot is a substantial change in your business model, whereas an incremental change is just a small improvement that you've made. I'll give you an example. If I owned Netflix, okay, apart from the fact that I'll be peed up and living with some money, I would also be able to make an incremental change from, let's say, $9.99 a month to $12.99 a month. That's an incremental change in pricing. Now, if I decided instead to move from a subscription basis where I'm charging $9.99 a month to licensing my technology so that you can go and build Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and I'm licensing the underlying technology to them rather than building the platform myself through subscriptions, that is a pivot, because that's a substantial change to the business model. And when I say substantial, I mean what's changed is not only the product, not only the pricing, but also how we sell and support sales, and also our customer support. Okay, even the legalities, everything changes in your business model when you pivot. So that's how you feel the difference. Okay, now let's look at Leon, the restaurant. What they've done is genius, because they've pivoted from a restaurant to a supermarket. Why is that genius? Okay, because restaurants are sanctioned to close during this crisis. They're all shut down, but supermarkets aren't. Supermarkets are allowed to open. They're seeing queues around the block. Okay, so now they're no longer sanctioned to shut down because they've turned some of their restaurants into supermarkets. This is genius, because what they sell is food, and food is perishable goods. So if not for this profitable pivot, this is scenario analysis for them, right? They said we need to cut our losses, cut our costs. So what they're doing is they're selling food that would have gone off and out of date anyway. Okay, but the speed at which they've reacted is incredible. So they're selling this stock and this inventory which was going to go out of date. Okay, and what they're doing is reducing their costs, and therefore their loss. Okay, and again, you can do good and still make money doing so too. And you can see it on the left here with Feed the NHS. They did a crowdfunding campaign. Their target was to raise $1 million. They've raised over $1 million. They were overfunded. Okay, those people have just paid not only for the NHS to get meals, but they've paid for them to use the resource, the food that they already acquired and was going to go off and wasted. Come on, let's clap it up, man. Let's clap it up for Leon. This is it. This is incredible. This is incredible. Okay, incredible, right? But you can do this too. Okay, you can do it too. So I want to give you 5 quick tips. And again, feel free to screenshot, ignore, and I'm sorry for this yellow thing on the screen. We just got to keep rolling. This is what you do when you're master of the ceremonies, yeah? Top 5 for getting started with content. These are the top 5 tips for getting started with content. Write down your niche, okay? Write down a niche that you're inspired by and you're knowledgeable about, whether it's natural hair, whether it's gardening, whether it's plants, whether it's football, whether it's product management like it is for me in highly regulated industries, whether it's startups and starting a business. Write down the niche that you're inspired by and you're actually knowledgeable about, okay? And this is for the people that are new to business. For the people in business, you should know what this is already, okay? Step 2, for 1 month, for your first month at least, publish 1 piece of valuable content at least 3 days a week, okay? And I'm just saying that because we're starting off, right? Some of you should be 3 times a day. But let's start off with at least 3 days a week so that you can get into a habit. It takes 21 days to form a habit. You want to get into habits, okay? And distribute that content over your socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, blogs, emails. But at least 3 days a week. Just get into the real rhythm of doing that and finding your true voice online and getting comfortable with taking the leap, which is often the biggest barrier, is that confidence to say, I'm going to do this. And I've actually gone and done it now. Okay. That's the hardest bit, like taking the leap and actually doing it. Okay. 3rd, grow your audience by staying consistent, sharing real value and becoming a likable character and a person that they trust. Okay. So you want to make your audience smile, but also you're their trusted advisor. Okay. So you're that trusted advisor, which means that during times of crisis, they turn to people that they can trust. The same way that 100 of you have turned to me today because you trust me, okay? 4th, build your mailing list. I've said this about 3 or 4 times now, that direct relationship with your customer and your audience, you need to build up your mailing lists, okay? You're not going to be at the mercy of changing algorithms. No. You're going to be in control because you've got a direct relationship with your customers, okay? And finally, listen, each one teach one is a philosophy that I live by, okay? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, we've got to go together. We have to start collaborating, okay? We need to start working with each other. No, for real, okay? We need to start working with each other and with more people with more established audiences, okay? And that could be anything such as interviews, like mutual shout outs, creating content together, okay? Podcast is a smart hack because you can often interview people and speak to people that you wouldn't ordinarily have access to, okay? We need to work together like this. We've got to move together and move as a unit, man. We've got to move like this now, okay? Times of crisis, we've got to collaborate even more. The need is even more greater, okay? Has anyone else lost sound? Is sound working for you? Give me an eye if you can still hear me.
I can hear.
Oh, excellent. Apologies to that.
Who can hear? Aye.
Okay. I saw that quick plug. I like that. Okay. All right, we're gonna go back to it. Only a few more slides just before I open it up. Okay. So now we're just gonna quickly go through some remote tools that have been super useful for me, and I wanted to share with you. I shared a tweet the other day. I'll share that tweet with you. I shared a tweet the other day that went into the remote tools that you should all be using during times of crisis. Okay. I'm gonna copy and paste that tweet so that you can see the full list of the tools. I'll copy and paste it into the chat, and then I'll walk through each of these tools one by one, but only 5, my top 5, okay? There's 10 in this tweet, but top 5 here. Copy and paste that out of the chat because once this ends, it's gone, okay? All right? So right now, this is my reality. This is why I'm able to do this webinar because my partner right now is selling TikTok. They ain't disturbing, all right? But for many, this is a real reality. It's a struggle, right? Like working from home and working productively is very, very hard. So the first and most important thing that I advise all of you to do is to use your calendar as your operating system, okay? And what I mean by this is sync your work and your home schedule with your calendar, okay? And what you can do with your calendar is you can set certain things to private and to public. Okay, so if there's things in your calendar that are private, you can put on private so no one can see it, either your spouse or your workers, depending on how your relationship is with your spouse, right? But you can also set it to public, so you can choose what people can see, okay? But what it gives you is a single version of the truth, to know actually throughout my day, this is the time I'm going to the park with my kid. This is the time that I'm having dinner with my family and being present. This is the time that I've got a meeting at work. This is the time that I want to have uninterrupted deep work time so I can focus on getting great work done, okay? You need to establish a routine that works for you, okay? This is a routine that I shared in my newsletter recently, a couple of weeks ago. Those that subscribe to my newsletter would have seen this, okay? And this shares, for example, what my schedule was like. And this shouldn't be your schedule, but this is what it works for me, okay? And this is in my calendar every day. Okay, waking up super early because I'm a morning person, but at the same time, I'm a bit of a baby in the evening, so I try and sleep early. Find a routine that works for you, okay? Secondly, digital whiteboards, right? So we're using Miro right now, Miro, whatever you call it, Miro. But there's also another one called Mural, okay? They're digital whiteboards. If there wasn't so many people on the call, we could have been collaborating inside this digital whiteboard, and it makes it for a much more interactive session, a much more enjoyable session as a consequence. Okay, so I'm going to send both of those in the chat so that you have it. And again, I urge you to copy it out of the chat so that you don't lose them. Okay, so that's Miro and Miro, and they're digital whiteboards. They both have free plans and paid plans. Okay, so you can take advantage of the free plan, right? Then we have Canva. Oh man, I wish my head of content and brand genius, Ashley, was on this course so she can walk you through Canva. But Canva, we use Canva for
I'm here.
That's what I'm saying. Ash, stand up. We use Canva for... Ash, you tell them what we be using Canva for. Tell them.
Okay, so basically, you can use Canva you can literally use Canva for anything. So you can use it to create media kits. You can use it to create event flyers. You can use it to create like IG story templates, podcast covers. You can use it to create highlight covers. You can use it to create logos, literally anything you can think of.
Everything. It's like if you can almost cook rice with Canva. Can do everything. So I'll share that in the chat as well. Thank you, Ashley. Okay. And then we have Grammarly. Okay. Grammarly is for people like me who back in the day at work used to send an email to 2 or 3 colleagues to proofread it for me. I don't do that no more. Now my emails, my Word docs, all of it just get checked by Grammarly. So Grammarly does that all for me, okay? And it can do it all for you too, okay? So I'm gonna paste that in the chat as well. Grammarly, again, has a free plan, and it can scan your emails, it can scan your Word docs, it can even scan your social content, okay? So it can actually go through your tweets and stuff and tell you better grammar to use and make suggestions for you. And then finally, Notion. This is actually my favorite tool. So Notion, I've created a customer relationship management system in my Notion, and I've used Notion for so many things, such as working with freelancers, such as Ashley, who's great on content. So if anyone needs a brand strategist and a content person, Ashley, you just put your details in this chat so people can hit you up directly, okay? But Notion is what I use for everything. It's like partly a Word doc, partly an Excel sheet, partly a database. But the great thing is you can do it all in one place. Trello board, you can do it in Notion. So Notion's a great all-in-one tool. And I also use it for my journaling and keeping my diary, as well as my bookkeeping, okay? So this is an all-in-one tool. Anyone that's a freelancer, a hustler, an entrepreneur, it's a must that you at least give it a try, right? I'm thinking about setting up a jamming session where I walk through actually how to use these tools, and we jam and start creating stuff in these tools. If you're interested in that, you just drop me a message after, or sign up to my newsletter and let me know. We'll make that happen for sure. So if you want a deeper session to go through these tools and jam with Andy and walk through actually creating shit together, we can do that too. Okay, I ain't done yet though. I've got a bonus tool for you that's not on screen, and it's called Lunch Club. Because right now we're in a situation where we're attending webinars like this and getting so much value and knowledge. But what we're missing out on is the ability to network and meet new people in a time where we actually want and crave for that social context, okay? So what Lunch Club allows you to do is to meet interesting, open-minded, usually growth-minded people from all walks of life, okay? And across the world. I'm meeting someone tomorrow from Spain who was a leadership executive coach for Eric Schmidt at Google and some of the Amazon leadership, okay? And this is what I'm saying. I would have never have gotten that if not for Lunch Club. So I've put that into chat as well. And the code that I've put in the chat in Lunch Club allows you to skip the queue. So you do not have to wait in the queue because Andy gave you, Andy's the bouncer, and I just let you into the club. Okay, so that's Lunch Club. Lunch Club is great. Thank you. Some of you are testifying to that in the comments. I got some bonus content for you, all right? So I was going to end, and I was going to say that was the end. But I've actually got some bonus for you, okay? For all those that are thinking about raising money right now and asking that question, is this a good time to raise from investors? Let me break it down for you, okay? There's certain industries that are on screen right now, okay, that are great industries for investors that investors are excited about. These are great industries. People are excited about this right now, okay? Sadly, not all businesses fit into that industry, okay? So let's call a spade a spade. A small number of categories are hot investment opportunities right now, from remote working to healthcare to communication tools like Zoom, okay? But the truth is, most investors have never done investing over Zoom before. Let's just accept that human fact, that most of them do this face-to-face, and they're not on this thing when it comes to doing it across Zoom, okay? Not all of them, but most of them, okay? The ones that I'm speaking to in the hallways, the ones that are speaking to me privately and spilling the tea, this is what they're telling me, okay? Many angels and LPs, which is another fancy name for limited partners, which is a fancy name for investors that invest in VC funds, have been affected through the exposure that they've had to the stock market, okay? So imagine you were invested in airlines, and airlines are doing terrible right now, and restaurants. Because of that exposure you've had to the stock market, you might be trying to get your money out of other investments that are more risky while you can, and some of them are doing that. They're taking their money out of funds. This is also called a capital call, in order to reallocate their money into safer asset classes like platinum, like oil, like gold, commodities, okay? So some investors are taking their money out of investing into startups that's super risky and putting it into safer asset classes. Okay, what I'm giving you right now is the rundown that they're not telling you the truth on in social, okay? In social, they're acting like everyone's active, everyone's still investing, okay? But the truth is, VCs right now are focused 80% on supporting their portfolio companies. Like, how can I support them to survive, right? So they're focused intensely on the investments that they made, AKA their existing customers, okay? They're not focused on acquiring new customers, they're focused more on, bless you, you can go on now. They're focused more on their existing customers, okay? That's important to understand. Yeah, so 80% is on portfolio companies, 10% is on changing their internal processes. You know, how do I do working on Zoom with my colleagues? How do I onboard new people? How do I assess deals and startups over Zoom? So they need to change a lot of their internal processes, and they're working on that right now in this environment. And then 10% of their time is still on assessing startups, okay? But the truth is, the bar is exceptionally high right now for making investments. They're not looking at the average, they're looking for extremely high. So as a result, they're investing in less companies as a result. So if they're doing 3 companies a month on average, it might more be like 1 company a month now. Let's keep it 100, it's like 1 company a month, okay? So let's just understand that reality, okay? Now, the positive note is that VCs are in the business of investing other people's money. So their business model incentivizes them to invest in startups. So that means that they will invest, they have to. They're gonna get pressure to, okay? So they are investing, it's just at a slower rate, and it's just important to understand the other factors that I've just touched on, okay? Okay, we're coming to the end of the workshops, the webinar shortly. I hope you've got a lot of value from this, okay? If you really loved what you're hearing right now and what you've heard on this webinar, the one thing that you can do for me, the number one thing, okay, is to take a picture, post a review on LinkedIn with that picture, and share what your key takeaways were from this webinar, okay? If there's anything that you can do as a favor to Uncle A, to Uncle Andy, is to do that. If you can just take a picture, write some of the key takeaways you took from this if you found it valuable. Likewise, if you found it shit, you can keep it 100, but share that on LinkedIn for me, okay? And share it on socials, on Insta, because that helps to get the word out more, because this is my opportunity to give back to founders. This isn't my business. This ain't my bread and butter. I do this for the love of the culture, because I want to see everyone win. I want to see everyone at the table when we're making decisions as investors and as companies, right? So that's why I do this. I do this for you out of the goodness, because I want to see everyone win, okay? So one thing you can do for me is review that. And then if you really want more of this content and you want to be up to date with the things that I have coming up, such as events, webinars, spilling the tea, news, opportunities, jobs, I encourage you to sign up to my newsletter, okay? I've just put into the chat, all right? Sign up to my newsletter and you can get that too, okay? We are actually done, and I'm going to open it up for some questions for the last 10 to 15 minutes. But before I do, I've got one more gift for you, okay? I wrote an ebook, okay, to answer some of the most reoccurring questions that I was getting from founders around, you know, like, how do I get started with my idea? How do I execute on my idea? And this book really is about self-awareness and discovery. Like, how do you actually validate that you want to go on this journey as a founder, that you're uniquely placed to do this? Like, that actually you have the domain expertise and the network to do this. How do you validate that? Okay, this is what this ebook walks through, and then it walks through how do you validate your ideas, and actually a framework for how you walk through your problems. Okay, so this is a free ebook. I repeat, it's free. You don't have to pay me nothing. You don't have to worry about nothing. It's completely free. Okay, thank you for all of those showing love to the newsletter. I appreciate that. I love it and appreciate you. I've been running for 4.5 years, and I do it for you. Okay, so that's it. That's it. That's all, folks. Okay, so look at everything that we covered today.
Thank you so much.
Look at all of this. This is what we've just done today. All of us just.
Thanks, Andy.
Cheers, Andy.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Andy.
Cheers, Andy.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Andy. It's amazing.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you so much.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And any feedback, of course, please send any feedback after. Like, it's all
What's
good.
The most Instagram-friendly image that I can share? Like, I like that picture on the bottom. I just need to get rid of this yellow thing.
Oh, the picture at the bottom. You want that? Okay. Yeah. All right. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna download that and I'm gonna upload it to the chat. Let me see if I can do that. I'm gonna download it and see.
Oh, that works.
Chat. Okay. Okay. So, is there any questions anyone has? Any questions?
I have a question, if you don't mind me stepping in.
Of course.
So I completely hear what you're saying when it comes to like traction and pivoting and going in different directions and thinking creatively. I was just, when earlier you asked, are you chugging or are you growing? Right now, I feel like I'm in between, I'm in between chugging and growing, because I have had some like really promising growth during March, like during the height of the pandemic. But at the same time, I'm concerned because a piece of me is telling me that it's like a delayed reaction. You know what I mean? Like, even though I've seen this growth in March and it's promising, I have a feeling that
you think there's a storm ahead, right?
Yes. And I'm trying to distinguish whether or not I'm just being paranoid or I need to pivot again and go in a different direction before things go sideways.
It's a great question. And what is the product that your business sells?
So it's a subscription service. We provide eco-friendly, toxic-free hair products.
Okay, great. So there's two things of hair products, right? People were stockpiling because they were panicking. So it's likely that you saw an increase of sales because people were stockpiling because of the rush, and they were scared because they don't know how it's going to last. Okay.
Yeah.
So that might have been actually just a peak and a one-off because of that rush. Okay.
Exactly.
What you need to do is two things. Okay. Engage with your existing customers. Okay. And learn about what problems they're facing with their hair and just be useful and helpful to them. Help them along their hair care journey during this crisis. Okay. So whether it's useful tips, videos, how-tos, offer, for example, maybe even like a small webinar, like masterclasses limited to 10 people only, and you may charge for that. Okay. And then secondly, you need to stockpile. You need to save your cash. So cut down on customer acquisition and paid ads as much as possible and save your money. Okay, because you don't know how long it's going to last, and you're saying that there might be a storm ahead. So you need a bit of an emergency fund. You remember what I was walking through, the scenario analysis?
Yeah.
Do that practice. Just get an Excel sheet, create a scenario analysis with those options, and then you know what levers you can pull. Okay, you're in a stronger position if you have some cash in the bank, because it buys you time to think. And when you have time to think, it gives you it affords you the time.
One more question, if you don't mind.
Ooh, all right, real quick.
But someone else can go, and then I can come back.
I have one.
Yeah, I have one too. But ladies first.
Oh, what a gent.
Hi, Andy. Thank you for your session. Really good. My name's Joanna Steele, and I've just actually started my business. I'm a digital marketing and e-commerce consultant and trainer. My focus is on Central and West Africa, so businesses who operate there or want to enter those markets.
Okay.
I suppose my question is, my focus is on corporates, helping them with their strategy and training their in-house teams on digital marketing. Yeah. With marketing, usually the first department to get made redundant during times like this. How would you advise that I get clients, I suppose, is probably what I'm asking.
You need to empathize, because what they're cutting is not marketing. A lot of them are cutting customer acquisition, which is a vertical within marketing, and they're reapportioning the money to retention. And you need to position yourself as a trusted advisor to help. You're Moses, and you're going to take them across the sea. And you're telling them the water's parted and you need to retain your customers, and I'm going to shepherd you on how you can do that. So focus on retention marketing, okay? But at the same time, for the bold among them, for those that are bold and brave, it's actually a great time to acquire users for cheap, because suddenly you're not competing with terms with travel companies.
Yeah.
They're not bidding anymore. So it's actually a cheap time to acquire customers at the same time. So you need to come with these smarts to say, all right, what is the pain that you're feeling right now? And let's figure out first how you retain your customers. But secondly, how can we be smart in acquiring through this content that we're creating? Or you saw the examples that I gave of smart campaigns that certain companies were doing, right? You could do so too. We could do the smart campaigns, where it's like, actually, we're raising money for a good cause, but actually we're doing this to acquire new customers too. Yeah, so speak to your customers is step number one, to understand what they're currently going through and thinking. Don't charge for that, because that insight is valuable, so you don't need to charge for that, okay? So speak to the customers. One.
Thank you.
Mr. Andy, sir.
Yes.
Hi. Quick question for you. In terms of managing your risk appetite from a company's perspective within this time, should we be increasing or minimizing? The reason why I say this, I have, for example, a few customers who need my online shop digitization, etc. services, but because they are not making any revenue, they would wish to pay later dates in terms of any of the work we provide for them. But in the meantime, for any piece of work I'm delivering, I still have staff that I would have to pay for to do that work. So it's kind of like trying to manage, is it a good thing to be doing or try and avoid?
Look, cash is king and queen, okay? So let's just strip it down to the basics when we look at your scenarios here. If you don't get money short term with good payment terms that allows you to get money in the bank in the next 14 days, the next 30 days, you can't afford to keep the staff. If you can't afford to keep the staff, you can't afford to have a company and produce the value that they want. Okay, so the truth is either you negotiate the payment terms to make them shorter, and maybe that means creating products or services that are smaller foot in the door products. Okay, foot in the door product is when you sell something small for cheaper in order to just get in there. And once you've delivered value and they love what you're doing and they can see the value that you're delivering, it allows you to upsell into what you really want to do. Okay, so maybe at a time like this is a time for you to create a foot in the door product, to just get in there and allow you to have shorter payment terms and shorter cycles in delivering that value. Because it sounds like if you don't, you're going to risk basically like doing a lot of work that you can't actually afford to fulfill because you run out of cash in the bank. Yeah, I hope that helps, my brother.
Thank you.
No problem. I'll take two or three more questions.
Hi, Andy. It's Josie. I just have a quick question on deciding what should be sold and something that should be given out for free, just to kind of help with marketing and boosting your customer base. So my business is a physical venue. So during a time of quarantine and any restrictions on gatherings, that means that we won't get any bookings. But we could be providing things like planning materials or logistic materials to potential customers. I'm just conscious that because it's a new business, is it worth giving these out to people for free just to kind of raise awareness, or should our focus be on monetizing every material and element that we have?
So currently, is your customer people that are planning weddings, for example?
Yeah,
right.
Weddings,
Perfect.
Parties, birthdays, anything.
Perfect. So right now, none of that's going in. There is no parties. There is no wedding, no birthdays.
We don't know when there will be. So
no. But just follow me on this story for a second. I'm not challenging your business. Like the good thing is, right now, okay, people that were planning a wedding are stressed, and you need to speak to them to understand what's the thing that they're stressed about most. I can give you a clue or a hypothesis for you to test. Is money. It's how much money have I lost or am I going to lose now that I can't get married in May? Now that I can't, like, how much is the venue going to take? Is the venue going to allow me to rebook? So if you can be that broker that's super helpful and useful in helping them along that journey, it will help you. Even if you do it for free or for a little charge, it will help create brand awareness, because what that happens is that person, through having that great experience with you in a time of stress, recommends you on socials, recommends you through word of mouth, recommends you to others. Because right now, where the wedding industry is failing is that a lot of them are saying, oh no, you can only rebook your wedding between November and April, the dead months. Or they're being really harsh to customers and thinking about themselves rather than thinking about the long-term value of the referrals that they would get if they treat that customer right. So if you're that person that's positioned as a trusted advisor and treating customers right during this period, I think it's actually a great opportunity for you to build an audience and start building leads, because there's people that are going to get married next year, the year after, and after that. So if you can start building your audience now, you position yourself well to take advantage of the tidal wave post-crisis. So just be helpful now, even if it means catching an L and not making money, because building that audience and that brand will allow you to monetize in the future, because we're all in the business of forming long-term relationships.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Andy, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, brother.
Yeah, it's Joseph. From Eventful Photo Booths. So I totally echo what you're saying.
I love those booths.
Eventful Photo Booths. So I totally echo what you're saying. In terms of being that solution to your customers, especially within the wedding industry, because a lot of them are worried, a lot of them are concerned. And as you rightly said, as long as you can simmer down their worries and concerns, even if they have another vendor booked, they might even cancel that and come to you, right? So it's about making sure that you are that band-aid for this period of time. You know what I mean? So I don't have a question, but I'll just echo in exactly what you're saying, and obviously continue to maintain that relationship with your client, or people who are thinking, what do I do? And they're pulling their hair out. A lot of couples that I've been working with, they're worried and what's on, and they're concerned, and they need reassurance. And I think it was about 2 months ago, there's this lady that she actually works with clients to make sure that their stress levels are low, regardless of COVID-19. So to be in that space of making sure that clients are calm and they're relaxed and they're chilled and they're not worried, that's going to be key. That's my 50 pence.
Excellent.
I've got a question.
Yeah, sure, shoot.
So I'm trying to find an affiliate platform to add to my Squarespace website. I don't know if that's something that you can help with, or some platforms that you know of that are good, because it's all a complete minefield to me. I've looked at quite a few, but it's just so confusing.
So tell me more. You're looking for an affiliate platform to plug into your Squarespace?
Yes, yeah. So
what do you want the platform to do, or do you want like a plugin to enable you to run an affiliate program on your Squarespace?
Yes, yeah.
I don't know of head, to be honest, because I don't use Squarespace, but
can I
go on. Can
I chime in? So I use Squarespace, and what you can do is you can integrate ClickFunnels to Squarespace, and ClickFunnels allows you to affiliate links where you can have affiliate people join you by ClickFunnels. But ClickFunnels is like a landing page for funneling leads through, so you could try that as an option. Sorry.
I also recommend Reversion. If you're looking for like an affiliate program, like a full built out program like that, Reversion is great. They make it super easy. I actually like them more than the other one, the one with the star. I think they're easier to use. So that's my personal recommendation.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna have to be sorry, but I'm gonna have to love you and leave you now. But we've ran over by half an hour, but I hope you got a lot of value from that session. Connect with me on Instagram, ask me any questions you have. I'm more than happy to help. I just may take time, so be patient with me. But have a blessed day and enjoy the remainder of your days. Stay safe, stay positive, and let's make it through this crisis together.
Amazing, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Right.
Thank you, Andy. This is awesome. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very, very much.
It's awesome.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
You can say your bye now.
Bye, Andy.
You weren't even here.
My pleasure.
Bye.
You turned up at the end to come and say bye, Andy.
No problem.